welcome back to the True to Form podcast. I am your host, Audrey Neff, and I have a really cool guest with us today who just has awesome freaking energy. And so I'm super excited to have her on the show. We've been going back and forth for a while now. So I'm finally, we're just super excited to have Bita Ardakani-Akrawi on with us. She owns and operates Naples Skin Clinic down here in South Florida, or Southwest Florida, I should say, a med spa. She is a national and board certified PA. She specializes in medical cosmetic and dermatology procedures, and that's been since 2009. She's an educator and trainer for injectables and thread lifts as well. She provides general dermatologic care for patients of all ages with a special interest in derm surgery, cosmetics, and lasers. She also has a passion for helping patients who suffer from acne and aging skin. She's certified in PRP, advanced dermal filler injections, and advanced neurotoxin techniques, and has been trained by very well-known derms, cosmetic surgeons, and plastic surgeons in both Florida and Beverly Hills. So I met Bita back in, I think it was October, at a Benev event. She ran over to me after my lecture and was like, I would love to come on your podcast. And I love people that are just like, bring me on the show. Because I'm like, okay, our energies attract. So of course, we had to bring her on because she's awesome. And so with all that said, first of all, Bita, welcome to the True to Form podcast.
You know what? Yeah, when I first saw you at the Benev conference, I was like, you know, she's my girl. I know we can like totally like jive on this like podcast stuff, you know, because I do enjoy talking about what I do, because I really do enjoy what I do. It's not really a job. It's more like fun. And then so I don't see it as a job. It's just like the most coolest thing to do is to do stuff in aesthetics. So it all started, let me go back when it all started. So it all started when I was actually like 13 years old, and I suffered with really bad acne. You know, I had such bad acne that they used to call me pizza face Bita or pimple face Bita. So it all kind of started from there. And what actually changed my life was when I saw a dermatologist who wasn't all about medications. He was all about, Bita, you need to go see my esthetician, and my esthetician will actually clear your skin before I can, because she's going to get you on the right track. So she's the one that kind of gave me the inspiration to do what I do now. I always wanted to be a doctor, but I also wanted to have a family. So I always thought the PA route was like so much more, it just worked out for my, you know, my lifestyle, my life, my world. Then I was introduced to dermatology because through rotations and such, but I got an opportunity in Miami to work for a really renowned dermatologist in Coral Gables. Then it was more surgery, more excisions and skin cancers. But then she kind of said, well, I don't like to do aesthetics. If you love aesthetics, you do the aesthetic side, and I'll do the regular dermatology surgery stuff. So I said, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. And then one day I injected a patient, and at that time, this was back in like 2010, there was no cheek fillers. There was no, you know, jawline filler. There was no off-label Botox or toxin injections. It was like, do what you think and see if it works, and let's just go with it. And even at that time, I remember doing a cheek because I was like, well, there's a hollowness here. Why don't I just put some filler there? Maybe it'll work out, because it was all about nasolabial folds then. That's all it was. You know, nasolabial folds and lips. Those were the two things that were very popular then. So when I did it, when I injected this patient's face on one side, because she had a deformity, one side of her face was concaved in, the other side wasn't. So I said, well, why not try to match it? And as soon as I did, the patient cried because she was so thankful. And that just changed everything for me. I was like, this is the best feeling ever. So I wanted to keep having this positive like energy feeling with the patients instead of this But like telling someone you have skin cancer isn't the most happiest time. So when it was the pretty side of dermatology, it just made me so happy because I'm naturally a positive person. So I just love positive energy and the positive outlook on life and all that. So that's what made me want to just concentrate on aesthetics versus the other side. So, but don't get me wrong, I love doing excisions. That's my other passion too. I love removing moles because of my OCD nature. Not seeing that makes me really happy. It feeds my OCD energy. Um, and then I started working aesthetics until 2000. I moved to Naples in 2012 after I got married. And then we moved to Naples, and then I found an aesthetic practice who was hiring. I worked for her for 4 years. And then my husband pushed me to open up my own office. At first, I was a little weary, but with his support and positive energy, he opened my horizons, and here we are. 5 years later, after opening Naples Skin Clinic in 2018, here I am. And it's been a great journey. I've learned a lot. I made some mistakes, and I learned from them. And I can say, having a practice of a 350 square foot place to an 1,100 square foot place now with like 4 aesthetic rooms, 2 estheticians, and myself. I mean, I can pat myself on the back a little bit. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I don't mean to toot my own horn.
No, you should be. I mean, please. That's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah,
It's for guests
it's
to toot
really
their own
fun.
horn.
But, like going to a lot of these like conferences and stuff, I meet a lot of cool people, and, everybody wants to start their own practice, but they forget um, that you can't make it into a sprint. It's a journey. It's one step at a time. It's baby steps. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I mean, if you have all the funds in the world and you're not worried about failing, and you have unlimited amounts of cash, then go ahead and go from A to Z. But I feel like with my experience and with my colleagues' experience, by going at a slower pace, you're actually more likely to be more successful
Yes.
than going at a faster pace.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I can talk more in depth, but let's see
Yeah.
where this podcast goes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate the detail and I love your story. And I
Thank
love just
you.
how transparent you are as well.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
yeah, so that's my vibe. So first of all, I had like a moment of nostalgia because when you were going back talking about in 2010 was when the first time you were injecting. It was
Yeah.
back when it was all about nasolabial folds and lip filler. Was that when Brooke Shields was like the spokesperson for Juvederm? Because that commercial like popped into my head, and it was like
Yeah.
no one, everyone's gonna notice, but no one's gonna know or whatever.
Right, right, right. And I think so. I think it was her, but I feel like she was probably more in the collagen days because there was,
Oh, maybe she
before
was.
I started injecting HA fillers, I remember my dermatologist was injecting collagen filler. It was called
Oh.
uh Evolence or something. It was like a collagen injection, and I was like, what is this? I didn't even think of anything. But the dermatologist that I work for, she said it doesn't last. So then they
Mm.
made the HA fillers, and I believe Restylane was the first HA filler in the market. And it was all about nasolabial folds, nasolabial folds,
Yeah.
and nasolabial folds. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember telling my supervising physician or medical director at the spa that I used to work at, I said, but there are just so many different nasolabial folds. There's some heavy ones. There's
Yep.
ones that are just lines. Like, how do I get rid of the heavy ones? And then fast forward, it was heavy because their mid cheek was so depleted.
Hmm.
But we'll get into that too because I felt like once cheek fillers got approved, everybody was injecting cheeks all day long, and now people's cheeks are
Yeah.
so big that their temples are so
Yeah.
hollow, and now we're playing all of these games of how to lift people's faces, but you can't lift people's faces with filler, people. And I hope this
Yep.
resonates. You can't
Hmm.
lift a face with filler. The only way you can lift it, my dears, is either with threads, which I love very
Mm-hmm.
dearly, or surgery, and
Yeah.
even that's not permanent. Surgery is not permanent, people. So I don't know. I really believe in non-surgical results. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
surgery is not needed. Of course it's needed if it's to the point where it's 100% needed. But with all the non-surgical stuff that we have, if you start early, I believe you won't ever need surgery.
Yeah. Definitely. And I very much agree with you. And we can probably get to this maybe in the middle of our conversation
Yeah,
because the whole theme of today's episode, and this was brought up by Bita, what she really wanted to touch on was do's and don'ts of starting your own practice, which I
absolutely.
love. So, and all of our listeners are probably for those of our listeners who listen to all the episodes of True to Form, we do a lot of industry insight episodes as well. And the industry is growing exponentially. We have yes, consolidation is going on with investment groups and franchises and all that good stuff. But we're also still having entrepreneurs, whether they came from the hospital or whatever it may be, move into the world of aesthetics and they want to be an entrepreneur. They want to open up an aesthetic practice and have a work within a happy atmosphere where people aren't upset all the time and you're changing people's lives, but in a really good way. I thought that was
Right.
that story about the filler that you
Yeah.
injected and the patient was like crying. Like
Yeah.
to me, that's just, I love that. And I also love, before my next question for you, just because you said a lot of things that I think a lot of our listeners will resonate with. That you said you don't think of your career as a job, like
Right.
it's just so it, it's your passion, and you can
Yeah.
certainly hear that. And I find that people in the industry that are the most successful, it's driven by passion. It's not driven by money comes along the way, sure,
Of
but and
course. Of
success, but
course.
like passion has to be at the core no matter what. So I just loved that you
Yeah,
kind
no,
of brought that up.
100%. I start to have like withdrawals because my hands need
Hmm.
to be like having that, that injection motion of like my hands are vibrating, it's going through injection withdrawals.
That's so funny. I love it. I love it.
Oh
And
my God.
I just love how much you're laughing too. You can just tell you love talking about this. So I love
I
having
do. I
conversations with people
do.
like you. So we're going
Thank
to start
you.
from the start. And
Okay.
so I want to go back to, because you said it's a journey, it's not a sprint. So
Exactly.
let's start with that, because
Okay.
I will say there's two mistakes I see. It's either a practice starts, as you said, way too fast. They invest in all this capital equipment, the new shiny device, and then they're just super in debt and their overhead's crazy and they don't have the patient base or revenue to support what they're
Right.
trying to build. So that's
Exactly.
the first thing. And then the second one is a practice owner, let's say, they start too modestly, like they're afraid to spend money on anything, and
Yep.
so then it leads you into the same problem of where's your patient base? You don't want to spend money on marketing. You don't want to do all these
Right.
things because it's scary and it's a mindset shift. So I get that. So those are kind of the two from the starting out standpoint. There's a million other things we could go into too, but those are definitely two common mistakes that can lead to, let's say, failure within 5 years. So
Right.
let's go to the start of when you and your husband opened your practice back in 2018. Talk about like, where did it start, from choosing space to what your team looked like to like the treatments you were offering? I think that would be awesome
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah, so it all started with me, myself, and I. I used to have staff meetings with myself. so,
I love
so
it.
I was the provider, right? And
Mhm.
I found I at first, let me back up. At first, I wanted to just rent a room. Okay, I wanted to rent a room in an office space somewhere, and I thought, okay, this would be really cool, just a room, and then that company or that hair salon or whatever could just feed me clients. But then
Yeah.
I thought, if I do it that way, then I'm bound to that area, and it might not, if I wanted to move out, it probably will be harder because those clients will be so used to me being there and suddenly I'm not there. It'll just be really hard to get out of it. So then I thought, because then you get into subleasing issues, okay? And
Right.
that was the biggest thing, that I didn't want to start something and end something right away. So I thought I'll just find a small unit, like a office unit, and if it has one room and a waiting room, then I'm golden. So I was lucky enough, I found one. It was 350 square feet. Okay, that's small. All right.
Hmm.
So it was one room, a waiting room, and a small little storage unit. And so my client, the client base that I had when I left that medical spa, I didn't have a client base. I didn't have anything. But you know, people would Google me, and my name is not that hard to find. So,
Yeah.
some of my clients did find me by Googling my name, I guess. And then they would tell their friends. It was pretty much word of mouth
Yeah.
how people started to like get to know me and all of that. But the biggest thing was I partnered up, not like a partnership, but a marketing partnership with a hair salon. And I would send her clients because she was a permanent makeup artist. And then she would send me her clients who needed Botox and fillers. So at first, I just started out with just, neurotoxins and fillers, PRP, just these three staples. And from that point, I just grew because I'm all about once you walk in through my door, you're family to me. I'm gonna know your husband, I'm gonna know your kids, I'm gonna know your grandkids, I'm gonna know
Yeah.
everything about you. So the experience was always there. And once they left my treatment room, the next day they would get a text message of, hey, hey, so and so, how's your skin? Because I always wanted them to feel that they were my only ones. Okay. And it's still like that 5 years later. I still text message my clients every single day after their treatments to make sure that they're okay. Because, I truly care about my clients,
Yeah.
just like I would care about my mom or dad or whoever. So that gave me a lot of credibility. And they would tell their friends, and then I grew. And then 1 year later, I was basically breaking the seams. Like I, I really needed to expand because then it was just too small of a place. And then
Yeah.
I found 1,100 square foot place, and then I moved into there. But the key thing is, I never bought capital until I knew what my patients needed,
Hmm.
okay? So my patients told me what they wanted. And once I heard those treatments that they really want, if I heard it over 10 or 15 times, that's when I
Hmm.
knew, okay, I need to invest in something, in some type of laser machine, something that will help them out. Now, here's the key thing. I was doing laser treatments in the dermatology practice that I worked at, and the aesthetic practice that I worked at. And I had certificates of that laser machine and whatever. So from that point, I said, I'm not going to spend $160,000 on a new piece of equipment. And everybody knows that's listening to this is that the next day, if you sell that $160,000 machine, I promise you, that used laser company is going to buy it off of you for maybe 30 or $40,000, and then they're going to go
Hmm.
around and sell it for 50.
Yeah.
So, and it breaks my heart because these laser reps are like, they're worse than the IRS. They will call
They're
you.
aggressive.
They are so aggressive, and they will promise the world to you. But guess
Oh
what,
yeah, they will.
people? Guess what? If, excuse my language, but if S goes down, they don't have your back. Okay,
Hmm.
nobody has your back because they're promising you of everything that you can do with it, okay, off label. But when it comes to doing those off label treatments, and that's where they sold you, is at the off label treatments. They sold it to you at that, promising that you can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G with it. And guess what? You couldn't do anything with it. And guess what? You can't make your payments. And there goes all your hard work. So, I bought my lasers used because I wanted to make a return on my investment after a month. Okay.
Hmm.
If I can't make it after a month, then it was a bad investment. And yes, there are some cons with it that if it breaks down, Yeah, you have to pay for servicing, but let me tell
Yeah.
you, the amount of money that I have paid for servicing still doesn't equate to the amount of money I had to purchase it at full
Right.
price. Okay? So I suggest don't, if you know you're gonna, it's just like buying a house, right? you know, you want to know the location, you want to know the school system, you want to know
Hmm.
the whole, like, the crime, rate before you actually buy
Yep.
the house. Well, why would you buy a laser without knowing who your what your client actually needs,
Hmm.
right? So start out with the basics, things that that you can sell right away and make money off of it, and then know what your patients want, then go ahead and buy that specific machine or
Hmm.
whatever. But don't buy it off the bat.
Yep.
It's gonna be bad.
Yep. I'm so glad you shared this because this is once again a big mistake I see is
Yeah.
just like whether it's investing in the wrong piece of capital equipment too soon. And I hear both sides around the used equipment thing. So I'm really glad that that we have you on because I think you can probably put a lot of people's minds at ease
Yeah.
around purchasing used equipment. So I definitely want to go into that. But before that, just to kind of reiterate and expand on everything. I mean, Vita hit the nail on the head. Do not invest in capital equipment until you figure out what your patient base is seeking,
Yep.
because everyone's going to have a different patient base. Your local market determines it, the age range of patients, the skin type, like all these things are going to
Absolutely.
determine what type
Right.
of investment you should be making, and it's not cheap. Something else I thought was super cool was you built your business on word of mouth. You co-marketed with had a co-marketing partnership with a salon. Like that's true
Yeah.
grassroots marketing and it's effective if done the right way. So I just thought it was
Oh
really
yeah.
cool
Thanks.
to hear that story. And also around the laser rep thing, I found
Yeah.
I thought that comment was so funny because I hear it all the time and I know a lot of laser reps. There are some
There's
out there
some
that
that
are
are
made.
so cool,
Yeah,
but
there are some out there that I love so much, but for the most part, I mean, yeah, they are aggressive. And actually, I'm not going to name the company it was,
yeah.
but one of my very good friends who she's a PA as
Uh-huh.
well, has had a med spa maybe 6 years now, but so she bought a couple pieces of their equipment. She was a
Uh-huh.
mature med spa,
Yeah.
and that her same rep, so the med spa owner's friend was opening up a location. The
Uh,
that med spa owner's rep of, I will not name the laser
yeah.
manufacturer, went and
Yeah.
sold the same equipment to her friend who was opening up the practice before she even
Oh.
had a logo, a
Oh
website, a
my
patient base,
God.
anything. $500,000 worth of
Oh
equipment.
my God.
And I
No.
remember my original friend was like so pissed, and she got him to like return the equipment somehow. I don't know
Ugh.
what they went through, but
No,
it let yeah,
they're ruthless.
they're ruthless.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't want to speak badly because I love all of our
No,
laser
I
manufacturers, but
look, reps are wonderful only if they can help you succeed.
yes.
What is the
Hmm.
point of having a rep if they can't help you succeed? And the problem with laser reps is they make money on the sale, right?
Yes.
But there's no ongoing, like, let's just say the laser doesn't have any consumables, okay? They're
Hmm.
just selling you that laser, but there's no more ongoing relationship right there unless something goes down, right? So you're pretty much left with this piece of equipment and you're like, well, what do I do with it now? And you don't even know what your patient needs or whatever. How are you going to push something that you don't know nothing about, that you have no experience with?
Yeah.
They're going to give you a demo and show you these before and after pictures that, and mind you, the after pictures are with swelling, okay? When you do a before picture of a really bad acne scar, and I know this because it happened to me, when you get a laser treatment done, well, after once the swelling kicks in, well, your acne scars look great. And guess what? They
Hmm.
take the after picture with the swelling. Once the swelling goes away, well, yeah, it has some improvement, but they're selling the laser on the on the swelling after picture, not the maybe 3 months later after picture. So um, there's a lot of bad apple companies out there that don't have your back, you know?
Mhm.
So, my advice is get to know the laser very well. Make sure you have used it many times before for at least maybe like, I don't know, you have like 6 months or 1 year experience with that specific laser, and you've seen clients, you've seen their progress with it, you know it very well, but even still, buy it used, in my opinion. Unless,
Yeah.
but now I'll give you a caveat. I'll give you a caveat. So there's two things. Like I personally bought an all therapy machine, okay? And I love all therapy, and it's made by MERS Aesthetics. But MERS has a way of selling this all therapy machine along with their radius fillers, their Xeomins, and things like that. So they give you they put in the fillers and the toxins within the package to the point where you are making up the money that you're spending on the all therapy with the injectable side. So in
Mm.
a way, that machine kind of becomes like a freebie. You know what I'm saying? There's ways of recouping that money spent
Mhm.
with the injectable side, or like Allergan and Diamond Glow. Okay, there's ways of there's benefits of buying that machine through Allergan because of the points that they give you for the treatment. All right, so I believe with these types of companies, yes, it's a good thing to buy the product from them. But if it's an individual laser company that have no other
Mhm.
um, other side with it, I suggest just buying it used, because
Yeah.
in the end, you're gonna win. And there are used laser machines that are actual distributors for that company. And if you buy a used one, the company will still back you. So there are many things. So, you guys can follow me on at Naples Skin Clinic, and I can give you guys like some tidbits. I just know this end very well because I've been
Yeah.
through so much. But yeah, and a big do is if you're gonna purchase fillers or toxins, or even you do want to buy a new laser or something, always buy it at the end of a quarter, because these reps need to make their goal, and they will give you the best deals ever. Okay, so never buy in the beginning of the quarter because they don't care, because they feel like they're gonna make their goals really soon or later or whatever. But if you buy at the end of their quarter, you'll get the best deals. So that's a
I
big deal.
Yeah, I love it. And with injectables too, obviously those
Oh
are going to
yeah.
be a treatment that have not as, let's say, profitable margins compared to capital equipment too. So
Right.
if you're
Well, if you buy it at the end of the quarter, it will be good
a
margins.
better margin, yes,
Better
yes.
margins of 100%, because you know reps have to make their goals, and if they don't make their goals, then
Hmm.
they don't make their money.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's a big do.
Yeah.
But do not buy something if you don't have any experience with it, and just
Yeah.
don't trust people to say, oh, yeah, this is great. The other thing is influencers, okay? Influencers get paid. They get
Hmm.
paid to talk about these machines, all right? And if you're a
Yeah.
novice provider or you're a novice business owner, don't just believe in an influencer saying, "Oh, this is the most greatest thing in the world." Well, guess what? They probably don't have much experience with it, and if they do, they're pushing it because they're getting paid to push it.
Yep.
Your experience is different from their experience. Your
Yep.
location is different from their location. Their patient population is different from yours. So, what your patient population needs is not necessarily what the other person needs. So
Hmm.
it's so different. It's 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 different. It's just different. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up influencers because it makes you think of like, or KOLs too. Like every
Yeah.
company has the same, and I love our KOLs. Okay, we have a great
No,
industry,
they're
but it's like the
wonderful.
same KOL will speak for like 18 different
Every
companies, and
no,
we all know they're getting paid.
exactly, exactly. And I'm thinking, how is it that this KOL is saying all these great things, but then they're saying the same great things about this other one? Like,
Hmm.
How is that even
Mhm.
possible? And how is that being transparent? How
Yep.
is that honest? You know, look, I believe that all neurotoxins have their place. I believe all fillers have their place, and I believe all lasers have their place.
Mhm.
Again, every patient's anatomy is different. Their skin is different. They might react to something that their friend might not react to.
Yeah.
So that's why it's called a practice. Okay, we are practicing, people. There is no concrete evidence that Juvederm filler or, I don't know, Restylane filler, what works for me is not going to work for you. What works for you is not going to work for
Mhm.
me. You know what I mean? That's why it's called a practice. Let me see how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's so true. Like for me, for example, I really don't like Juvederm.
Yeah,
Restylane for me has been great, but with Juvederm,
yeah,
I had nodules and bad things happened
yeah,
with
yeah,
it to me. So yeah,
yeah,
you have to adequately just treat your patients and figure out what's going to work best for them, and that's just the reality of the
yeah,
world we live in. But going
exactly.
back to the equipment thing, just because I know a lot of our listeners are probably thinking this because it's something I've been thinking of as we've been having this conversation.
Yeah.
So so you bought all your equipment used. I am curious around how many pieces of used equipment did you start out with? Did you just
Okay.
buy one and then you built into another? I'm just curious
Yeah.
around that.
So my first used equipment was a Palomar IPL machine, and it had a what do you call it? Another handpiece that was for resurfacing. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why I bought a Palomar was because the aesthetic practice that I worked in Aventura, Florida, near Miami area,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's the lasers that they had. Okay, and that's the laser that I had experience with, and that's the laser I knew worked for my clients in Miami, and I was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So I bought that. And then I was really successful with it. And then I really wanted a hair removal laser, not for the body, because I don't like to do the body. It was just for the face, for my patients who were at that age of 40 where, things were happening to their face, hormonal changes and
Yeah.
such, and they didn't want to wax anymore. So, and it wasn't just one client, it was more than one client. And I said, you know what? It's a quick treatment. I'll just buy a Cynosure. It was a Cynosure Elite. And it was the best laser because I hate hair removal lasers that you have to use a gel with. It just was a waste of time. It took too long and it didn't work that well. And I knew a cynosure was 2 seconds, doom do, and in and out, and it was wonderful. So then my third laser was actually I bought the All Therapy from MERS. That one wasn't used. And then that was it. It was the All Therapy that I bought new because I got a great deal on it. And then the other two were used lasers, and thankfully the other two don't have consumables. So you don't want to buy a used laser that has consumables because you want to make sure you can buy the consumables from the actual laser companies. So my third used laser machine I bought was a RF microneedling device,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the Vivace. And Vivace has distributors who are use laser machine people, but they are also distributors of that company.
Mm-hmm.
So, being a distributor, I can actually purchase the tips from the actual Vivace company, which is wonderful. So, because what happens is if you buy a used laser with consumables, if that laser company goes down, then you're stuck and you're like, well, where do I buy my tips from? Right. So you want to make sure that you buy a used laser that you can actually buy consumables from the actual company. And I have I know some good laser companies that have that contract with them. So yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, look, if you just go online and Google just a random laser, you will see 2022, 2023, 2021 for half the price. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you're seeing that, then you know that these poor companies have gone down because of these capital equipment. And it's sad. You know what I mean? It just breaks my heart because they're going into something that they're so passionate about, but they're listening. There's just so many voices in their heads telling them buy, 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 buy. And I promise you, once you buy, you're going to have a line out the door because you're the only one in the territory to have it. But guess what? Clients don't know what that is. Patients don't know what that is. They only know what your provider is telling them. And patients have a number in their head of what they want to spend. And let me tell you, in this economy, all right, no one has 2-3 grand to pay per session for a laser treatment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can bring that price down is by buying a used laser that's half the price and that you bought it pretty much outright. And from that point, everything is just basically profit in a way, you know? But, you know, if you really do want to make money, I would suggest doing it that way. I would not buy capital from the beginning. I went to a event. It was an event for what is it called? A biogel, okay? And this one injector, he was only injecting for maybe a couple of years, and he decided to go on his own. He has not much experience, and he decided to buy 3 capital items, like 3 laser items. And he is new to everything. And when he said that to me, my heart dropped because I was like, oh my God, like, how are you going to pay for this? How are you going to
Yeah.
make ends meet? You have to make rent, you have to pay insurance. And the more capital you have, the more insurance you have to pay, and the more taxes too, by the way. You know, you actually have to pay property tax on those capital items, you know? So, so, and I didn't have the heart to tell him, like, dude, like, why did you do that? Like, are you like, what were you thinking? But I know it was the reps. They promised
Yeah.
him probably unicorns and butterflies all day long. And, you know, I hate to break it to them, but it's not going to happen, you know? So, you know, that saying, build it and they shall come. It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. You're going to build it and it's not going to come. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
mean to be negative here.
No,
I'm just
you're being real.
I'm just being real, and
Yeah.
it's what it is. Another thing which I haven't done, but you could also rent these laser machines. You can rent them out for a month and see how it rolls for you. See if the client base is there. Then
Mm-hmm.
if you really think that you're going to make money on it, okay, fine, go buy it new, you know? But don't buy something new if you don't know what it's going to give you.
Yep. And also something, like use it on yourself, like
Yeah.
without topical numbing to see how it actually feels too.
Oh yeah, 100%. Absolutely. You know, I remember I had a bad experience. This gentleman came into this one med spa that I worked at, and I have acne scars. And so he promised the world. He put a bunch of numbing cream on my face. And then, you know, we cleaned it off. And then he zapped me with his laser. The next day, I had a bacterial infection all over my face.
Oh.
And I was so distraught because this laser was supposed to get rid of my acne scars, and it gave me the worst bacterial infection. And he said his response was, "Oh, I must have forgot to clean the machine. And maybe I think that's why you got the bacterial infection." I'm like, oh wow, thanks. I appreciate it so much, you know? So yeah, that was my bad experience. But you know, thankfully, you know, I guess it happened to me and not a client, but
Yeah.
it was pretty depressing. You know, I had to deal with that for 2 weeks of my life. So yeah, definitely use it on yourself, see how it goes. But do your due diligence, people. Don't
Mm-hmm.
I know it's exciting, and let me tell you, I have fallen into that trap of talking myself into it. Like it's gonna be okay. Like I need it. It's a tax write-off. You know, it would be a good
Mm-hmm.
thing. But think about it, people. Let's just say if you made 100,000, let's just say you made $100,000 and you buy this laser for $50,000. Well, okay, you subtract 50,000 from your 100,000, you still have to pay taxes, you know. And now you're out $50,000 of your money, cash money that it could have been in the bank. So why not just pay taxes on that 50,000? At least you have a chunk of that money cash in your bank account, you know, instead of it being locked into this laser that's going to collect dust. So, because you can't resell it for the same amount of money. So you have to think about all of these things. And, you know, my husband's a business consultant. So sometimes he has to put me in my place and say, no, Bita, don't do it. I know it's tempting, but don't do it.
Hey,
Oh
that's
my God.
good.
Yeah, yeah, no, for real. Because, you know, it's exciting to see if something really works. You know, you want to believe that with one treatment, a problem will just go away. But
Hmm.
I know this, the providers who are listening knows this. Nothing is a one and done. Never, ever, ever. So, don't drink the Kool-Aid, okay?
Yep.
Trust your gut. Know that if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and I'm just really glad we went into this deep conversation around capital equipment, just because it's something that it can be confusing for some people too, because they do, like, they're at a trade show, they're at an aesthetic trade
Yeah.
show, and
Oh
they
yeah.
just attended someone's sponsored workshop where, like, one of the coolest,
Yeah.
KOLs in the industry, that's a social media like guru,
Yeah.
is up there saying how phenomenal this device is, how it's changed his practice, how it's changed his
Yeah.
patients. They go to the manufacturer booth, they're
Yeah.
like, I want to get this device. Doctor, I'm not going to name names, so and
Yeah.
so said I need to get this device. And they fall into the trap without really
Yeah.
going back, thinking of this. Like, this is a big business decision. Like,
Yeah.
capital equipment is not cheap. And if you're not,
Yeah.
like, there are some people out there that pay cash for it. Okay, if you're in
Yeah.
a very different stage of your business.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
majority of us starting up, no, you're financing it, right?
Yep.
It's just like you're buying a piece of
A
property,
condo, man. It's a
yeah, a
freaking
condo.
condo.
What are the interest rates? Which now in the state we're in, I mean, there's companies out there where, like, some startups don't have, the credit necessary and things like that.
Yeah.
So they actually can't even buy from certain manufacturers. They have to go
Yeah.
through kind of like middlemen,
Yeah. No, they're
financing.
like
Like,
taking loans off
mhm.
their homes and taking mortgages from their homes, you know. Look, if I started my business with less than $20,000, okay?
Wow.
And I just with fillers and PRP, I made that back quick.
Yep.
Okay? So you do not need hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the other thing, why are you doing a big build out from the
Hmm.
beginning
Hmm.
on a rental property?
Yep.
Rent a room. Have a small office. Patients don't care what couch you have, what table you have. They don't care if you have marble floors or red carpet for that matter. They care. They want to look in the mirror and feel the best and look their best. And if you can give that to them, trust me, they will come to the alley for you. Okay? So don't do big build outs where you're going to be in the hole before you even start.
Yep. And
So
that's a great piece of
go to,
advice.
like, when people tell me, oh, where did you get your furniture from? I honestly ordered it from Walmart. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all from Walmart. So don't spend thousands of dollars on a nice couch for them to sit on. You don't want them to sit. You want it to be a oil machine. You want them in and out with a smile on their face and a smile on your face to the next patient. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, so you don't want them sitting down. So my advice to all providers who are starting out, don't look at your neighbor and be like, oh, they have this device, they have this office, they're in this part of the town, I want to do that and I want to be like that. Who cares? Just do what works for you and what works best for your clients.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. I love that piece of advice. And I think that's something, whoever is in a beginning stage, that's a very profound just piece of advice in general. Like, people get very consumed, I will say, in, like, trying to see, well, they just bought that device down the road. So now I need to go get that device or I'm going to lose patients. Like, don't think of it like that.
Yeah.
Focus on your business, your patients, giving them the
Yep.
best freaking experience in the entire world. We're going to get
Yeah.
reviews, better before and after photos,
Yep.
referrals, all these things. Build your business the right way.
Yep.
And first of all, looking at the clock, I don't even know how it's been almost an hour. This has been
I
like the
know, it's so
quickest
fun.
conversation. I'm gonna have
It's
to
so
bring you back
fun.
on because now there's like a million other things that we'll have to talk
Oh,
about
good. No,
on a
I
part two
enjoy
with
it.
Bita.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I really do. Because there's just so, I have a lot of mentees, I guess it's called,
Mhm.
and I've brought them to a way of making money. And I'm not saying that that's the goal, but when you're doing business, pretty
You're
much
running a business.
you're
Yeah.
running a business. A business is a business. Um,
Hmm.
but you have to do it the right way, the smart way,
Yep.
and the less expensive way. Okay. So you want to make a return on your investment. Don't get into the hole and trying to dig yourself out because let me tell
Hmm.
you, buying too much product at one time will get you in that hole. And that's where you see all these $7 a unit where you're like, how the hell are they making money? How are they even doing that? But that's what happens. You'll become desperate. And then you're going to be that desperate med spa that no one wants to go to because
Hmm.
people are going to think that, well, how are they charging that? There must be something wrong. So if you want to be in a position where they're coming to you for your expertise, then buy smart.
Yeah. I so agree. Buy smart for sure. And
Hmm.
just building on like the $7 Botox thing too. Like the cheaper something is, I think the less someone values it as well. Like
Absolutely.
I value my provider, charges more money than probably most of the people in the market, but I don't care. Like to me, I'm paying for expertise and experience
Absolutely.
and results. Like I would actually never want to go somewhere that was $8, not
Oh,
$7 Botox. Like
100%.
I just, it's your face. Like I just,
Exactly. No, 100%. I have clients call me, they're new clients, and say, "Oh, do you guys have any new client specials?" I say, "No, I don't do new client specials.
mhm,
I give specials to my existing clients who have
we're
been
spending
loyal
money.
to me,
Hmm.
who have
Yep.
been with me since day one. If you're new, you're paying full price all day long, and I'm not going to match anything either." So they have to earn my specials, you know?
Yep.
And if they refer me clients, like the salon that I contract or that I have a thing with, I don't charge her for injections or anything because in the beginning, she drove so many clients to my office that she deserves no cost treatments because my office was flooded with her clients, and I thank her all the time because without her, I don't know how I would have gotten clients to my door. So
Hmm.
always work, and my mom's a hairstylist too. So I was always in beauty shop world since day one. So the salon is the best place to market yourself because that's where women are always hanging out and they're always talking and they're always looking in the mirror. So give your salon ladies a break.
Hmm. I love that. And my salon does the same thing. They partnered with a local plastic surgeon that has a med
Yep.
spa, and the salon I go to is not a cheap salon. It's a
Yeah.
very expensive salon.
Yeah.
I'm probably
Yeah.
spending as much to get my hair highlighted, actually more than my Botox annual, or not
Oh,
annual.
100%.
Like my hair is spending like six, seven
Absolutely.
hundred bucks.
Yeah, it's the
But it's
truth.
like you can ever get me to leave because we value what we as women,
Yeah.
our skin,
Yeah.
our face, our hair, and we're
Yeah.
willing to pay more money for
Yeah.
the better things in
I
life.
agree. I agree.
I Great advice. So for those of you guys starting out, like even like a high end fitness club or something like
Oh,
that, where
yeah.
for people who care about their appearance, like
Absolutely.
forging some type of really awesome partnership that's mutually beneficial between the two, because I promise, and it's grassroots, yeah, but like I
Yeah.
promise it, if done the right way, it will certainly be effective at
Oh,
building your business.
100%. 100%. Even,
Yeah.
estheticians is the other one. They're
Hmm.
they're wonderful too. They drive clients to my office as well. So estheticians, salon stylists, even your Louis Vuitton like sales
Yep.
lady. You know, just
Mm-hmm.
you can find clients everywhere. And if you're just competing with another provider, you're doing it the wrong way because
Yep.
there's patients for everybody, people.
Yeah.
Um, Stop fighting for the same one. Get yourself their friends or something, you know? There's
Mm-hmm.
I'll refer people to my colleagues. Like, I don't do noses. I I just I'm just too, I
Yep.
don't do noses, so I refer to a place that does. And if they decide to go there forever, then so be it. I don't care, whatever
Mm-hmm.
works for you. But for every one that I lose, I gain five. So it's
Yeah.
all good. Just
Yeah.
positive energy, y'all. Put it on the universe.
Yeah, I love it. Positive energy. And I love that you said that you refer out for certain things you won't do. And this is something like even my provider, she doesn't do liquid rhinos and she won't do tear troughs.
Yeah,
And I hear a lot from her saying they're going to refer out, even if someone comes in, they're like, I want giant pillowy lips, and maybe
I
that's not
won't
their
do it.
approach to aesthetic medicine, they refer
Yeah.
them out.
Yeah, yeah, I won't do it. I have a patient, and and her friend used to come to me, and my patient goes, "Hey, why aren't you going to Bita anymore?" She said, "Because she just does too natural of lips."
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I will not give you
Yeah.
big, massive lips because I don't want people to ask that person, "Hey, where'd you get your lips?" And deep down, they're
Mm-hmm.
wondering where not to go. You know what I mean? So I'm all about natural, 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 natural.
Mm-hmm. And patients appreciate that.
Yeah.
An injector, when they tell you no, like that's how my injector is. I'm like, I think I need something. And she's like, nope, you are good. You're not getting anything. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I trust you. Like, and
Yeah.
now I just go and I'm like, you tell me when I need
Yeah.
something. Like, I'm not even gonna, I'm good for it. So, like, whenever I
Yeah.
need something, you tell me what you're doing and I'll say yes.
And
Because the conservative, yeah.
that right there will bring your provider more clients
Hmm.
because she's not there to
Hmm.
make money off of you. She's there to make you the best version of yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And I love that because there are, there's always going to be those injectors that they do care more about money than what the patient is going to
Yeah.
look like when they get way overfilled cheeks, way overfilled lips.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
looks like not even in anymore. I feel like a lot of people are now starting to like
Yeah.
dissolve
Oh,
their
yeah.
filler.
No, it's true. But see, those people who are just going to just push, 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 filler, 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 fillers because they probably bought capital that they have to pay for by the end of the
Yep.
month.
Hmm. Hmm. Or in some cases, it could even be there's a commission structure around the injectors where they get
Yeah.
paid more the more that they push. So I
True.
think
No,
that
there is
that's
that
something to be
too.
mindful of when you're
Yeah,
thinking of your comp plans for your
absolutely.
injectors is what's your approach to aesthetic medicine because you don't want your injectors pushing too much product on people that make them look unnatural just so that they can kind of stuff their own pockets more
Exactly.
at the end
Oh
of the day.
gosh, it's horrible. It is so
Hmm.
horrible. Yeah, but you will always know what you're gonna look like if you're I always tell my clients, if I look crazy to you, then you should go to another person because if
Hmm.
I look crazy, then guess what? You're gonna look pretty
You're
crazy
gonna look
too
crazy
because
too.
my version of beauty is totally different than your version of beauty, you know? So
Absolutely.
that's a telltale sign.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at what your injector looks like.
Yep.
That's a good,
Yep.
as most
Exactly.
patients, they gotta do that. But some
Yeah.
patients learn the hard way too.
Yeah.
Or some
Yeah.
patients just like that look and hey, I'm all
Exactly.
for
And that's
do what makes you
okay.
happy. Like
Yeah,
I don't judge. Do whatever
absolutely.
freaking makes you happy
Do
in this life.
whatever
You have one,
makes
so
you.
live it big.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
that's my I guess
Yeah.
mantra I live by. But yeah,
No,
I'm
it's
definitely
the
more.
truth. I mean, there's no judgment here. There's absolutely no judgment here. But, I don't like it when providers overpromise their patients.
Yeah.
It's so unethical, and there needs to be ethical back in our profession, and I think there's a little bit of a lack of, and it hurts me to think that there's patients out there believing in their providers when they say, I promise if you do this, you're gonna get this result, and I guarantee
Yeah.
it after they've spent 5, 6 thousand grand. That's probably like their 5, 6 grand in their savings account, and now they're late on their mortgage. So there's just be mindful. People are people.
Yeah.
So don't take advantage.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. And yeah, we'll definitely bring you on for a part two. Maybe like
Yay! I would love
Q2.
to. I would love
Yeah, because
to.
I can't believe this because I had wrote like 10 different topics. I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to her about these things. And we got through 2, which is usually how it goes. But I love it because I like going deeper into topics. And I think the capital equipment thing, I know our listeners are going to get a lot out of that. And it makes me think of, just because you've said so many just incredibly insightful things. And I hope no one takes anything that you said lightly, because these are just super powerful. And it reminds me of this question. He was someone I've known for a long time, and he was the CEO of a very, very large hair restoration clinic. He was basically a fractional CFO for multiple med spas across the country. And he always would ask people, and this has stuck with me for almost a decade now, is what should be your biggest expense? And you would ask practice owners this, and his answer was, your biggest expense should be profit.
Yep.
Like, that's what you want to focus on at the end of the day, because people are like, oh, your people, whatever it is. Well, it's like, no, you need to worry about profit. Like, you always have to look at the bottom line. Top line, is that important, but everything drops to the bottom.
Absolutely.
So first of all, and build smart, buy smart is exactly what you said. And I feel like that's going to be the title of this episode, is build smart, buy smart.
Absolutely.
Do's and don'ts when starting out. Like, I'm just thinking of that now, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to write that down. You just gave so much great information, Bita, and I'm just so happy that I connected with you at the Beneva event. I'm so glad that you came over, and I'm just very grateful that you came on and shared your story with our listeners.
No, absolutely. Your energy attracted me to you, so it was meant to be. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to come back and talk more about this stuff.
Absolutely. We will certainly bring you back. So thank you once again.